Yeah, so I just went like this because now I'm so used to wearing my watch that if I do this and it's not there, I feel so like insecure. Like, what is
Like
wrong?
half past a freckle, quarter till a mole. Do you have any moles or
Something.
freckles on your arm?
I kind of do, but I mean, I don't know. So I threw it off so it wouldn't distract me just now, and then I went like this.
Good afternoon and welcome to Table Talk.
Yes, hi everybody.
My name's Michael and this is
Allison.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. We like to just chat for a few minutes up front because
Yeah.
it takes a few seconds to hop on, and like it tells me we're live now, and then I always try to share it right away as well. So, and I have to turn my volume down so people don't.
Because we hear ourselves on
Yeah,
delay.
it's awkward. It's awkward.
Yeah, I'm doing better. You didn't ask, but I'm doing better this time than last time because
How you doing?
last time I had the whole allergy thing going on. I was on Claritin D and I had coffee and I was like, "Ah!" In my mind that's how I was. And this week nothing. I'm like, why? What changes in 1 week with the allergy situation?
I wouldn't have known that because what you guys aren't privy to is before we start, Allison likes to clear all the passages.
Well, just because if you have allergies in this day and age and you accidentally cough, people are like, ah, you're coughing! And so it's better just to, get it all out so you don't get a tickle in your throat and accidentally cough. It's the plight of allergy sufferers right now. Like, worldwide, we are in a group now, I feel like, that's being discriminated against. I mean, not discriminated, that's a strong word. But, like, people look at you like you're sick if you have a little tickle in your throat and you cough and you're like, I'm not sick, I just have allergies.
Is that how you spell generosity?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure. It looked weird.
I mean, you're concerned. But it is true, some words, like, you look at it long enough and you're like, wait, that's not... You know how
I do it all the time.
You say a certain word over and
Then it sounds
over.
funny?
Yeah, you're like, wait, this is the weirdest word I've ever said, and you just keep saying it. Yeah.
Every week we need to talk about our running list of things I never thought we'd talk about, but we do.
Such as?
Like whatever you just said. I don't know.
Weird words and
Yeah.
phlegm.
Phlegm.
Allergy sufferers unite.
Well, let's dig in.
Okay.
For those of you, so the point of these is that we have conversations, kind of an extension of what we're talking about on Sundays. But just as in general, as a community, we are having table talk as we sit at a table. This is where life happens. This is where real conversations, this is where we push each other. And so we're talking about generosity, specifically via the story of the Three Little Pigs. Try to make that leap if you didn't watch Sunday. It's difficult, but
it's not.
It's not difficult.
It makes
You're right.
sense. He's hung up on the old fairy tale, and it's like, but the global point is build a strong house.
Yes. And what are our foundations? Like, so what are the things we're building on? Is it? Are we building it out of fluff and nothing?
Yeah.
Like Solomon said, is it mist and puff and smoke, or is it something that has substance to it?
Yes.
And I think at the core, and I said this Sunday, at our core of our faith is generosity. That we think of others before. So, I mean, it's all generosity. So specifically, we talked more about money on Sunday. This week, we're going to talk about how are we generous with time. Mm-hmm. But at the core is this idea that we don't think of self first. And I think, and I said this on Sunday, I don't do well at this. I mean...
With generosity?
I'm a person that has to make it like... The argument I made was that even in our faith tradition, there's this idea of tithing. Tithing just means 10%. And that if you don't do the intentional stuff, it's hard to do the extra stuff as well, right? And so I think often we don't have a practice. So tithing is a practice. It's a discipline. It's something that we do. And so I talked about that a little bit, and I'm going to talk about tithing every week. Just tithing is just 10%, whether it's 10% of our money or 10% of our time or whatever it is. And we're going to have some different analogies with that. But that if we don't have the discipline of that, and then when it goes above and beyond that, right? And so I made the argument that our heritage, even as back thousands and thousands of years ago, they used to plow their fields so they got to the corner, right? And then they leave the corner for those who needed it. Or when they were picking corn or wheat, or of course they didn't have corn and wheat over there. When they're picking grapes and olives, and they dropped some, they would just leave them. Like that's how they dealt with it. And so it kind of became everything they did
Well, there
was
is
about
wheat.
generosity.
Because of the story of Ruth, as the wheat, it's the wheat that she's
There is wheat.
gathering.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe not corn.
I always think of Kansas as wheat or corn,
I don't
like
know, maybe
Iowa,
not corn, but they had wheat.
yeah, definitely have wheat. Yeah, corn's an American thing.
Yeah,
I think.
don't know about that.
Yeah, I think we did. I don't think they had corn until they came over to America. I don't know.
It is that small town idea of like in a small town, everybody knows everybody's business, you know? And so if somebody's struggling, like everybody
Right.
knows, and so the town kind of just knows we give a little extra here or a little
Right.
extra there because so and such is going to need it. And so that mindset is sort of lost on our society. We don't think that way naturally, unless we make ourselves think that way.
Well, and I don't struggle with being the idea of being generous. What I struggle with is, so I read this book called Stretch, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like nice things. I like nice restaurants. I like the nicer things of life, and so it's always a struggle for me because in the book he talks about chasers and pursuers, and I think the American dream is that we always achieve and do more and have better, nicer things, and so I struggle with the achievement, the always wanting more, bigger, better, and. Y'all struggle with this? So when I say generosity, like we tithe, like we do that, and then we give above and beyond that too. My family does, but what I struggle with is, so I'm presented with, I could buy this car or I could buy this car, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you do, or I could buy these pair of shoes, or these, and so it's the little things, and when I can make peace with what I have is good enough, then I think that leaves more margin for me to be generous. That's where I struggle, because I believe the lie that I need.
I need that one.
Yeah, I mean, y'all do this?
Yes.
You do it?
Yes.
I mean,
of course people do this.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not always in a situation financially where you can do this, and I think this is a time right now, especially where there are more people struggling than what it was 6 months ago, and so. 6 months ago, I would
Right.
say a lot of people would probably say that because the economy was pretty good and things were just different, you
Yeah.
know? And so you had a little bit more of the luxury of deciding between this shoe and that shoe. And now it's like, buy shoes? What? People are
So-
struggling to pay their bills.
that's a good point, though, but you see the dilemma. See, people need more help now.
Yeah.
Community Services League is an organization in Blue Springs. Melody Crispin's a good friend of mine, and we do a lot of stuff with them. And so they exist to help people, we exist to help people, and right now we've seen this huge increase of need.
Yeah.
And so when when the scarcity mindset comes in, we become afraid, and then we're out of fear, we hold on.
Yeah.
So even people who haven't been affected right now are holding on. Right? They're afraid.
I'm gonna run out.
Yeah, I'm going to run out.
Yeah.
People are afraid of what's going to happen in the election, regardless of which sides you fall on anything. And so there's just this fear, and that there's impending doom. And so people are hoarding right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I talked about this term called tzedakah, which means justice. Right? It's a Hebrew word, and justice is the opposite of hoarding. It's to be free and to let go and to not try to control and hoard things. And so these are our roots that we've always struggled with this. We always do this. And Amy, I haven't heard anything from you, but I've seen a few comments. Are people saying things?
Yes, well, Erica.
What is this?
Erica.
What? I don't
I'm
know.
not sure it does. Erica ordered the book because she said, I got the book because I want it all, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then Chuck said there's a bit of keeping up with the Joneses, but I do the whole count to 10 thing and then try to think about how much I will actually use something.
That's good, just making yourself pause before purchases and things like that. I mean, we are so impulse driven. Did you see?
Speaking of impulses.
Speaking of impulses, did you guys see The Social Dilemma? Have you seen it on Netflix
I haven't seen it yet.
Well, it's good. Watch it because it's talking about social media and all their algorithms and the way they get at that impulse in us to keep clicking, keep scrolling, keep buying, and it's like, you're like, I am literally just a puppet of these people who are advertising and buying advertising. So that is very smart and wise of Chuck to say you should take a step back, put the phone down, because that's where you buy from Amazon.
Well,
Put the phone
Amazon,
down
yeah, I mean,
and
it's so easy.
think about it before you actually make the purchase. It's hard.
Chuck, I had to sleep on it. I can't do 10 seconds.
Okay, promise you'll watch The Social Dilemma because it is fascinating.
Stacy has, and
Did she
Stacy
like it?
says, she goes, "Oh, this is marketing
Well, she's
101."
marketer,
Yeah,
yeah.
she goes, "This is what we do," and I was like,
She knows all
"Yeah,
that.
she does." Yeah,
It's just the technology is fascinating.
it's
like
more
how-
accessible.
But what I'm saying, how intricate their technology is at putting what we need to see in each of our feeds. Like you don't see the same feed I do.
We're a product of our program. We're being programmed to
Yes.
do certain things.
It's really,
Yeah.
you're like, okay. Anyway,
Well,
sorry.
We're looking at you. We think Amy's like back here going, "Hey, me." I'm like, I don't know. And then her eyes got real big when we looked at her. So.
I was listening.
Oh, okay, okay.
Chuck said, I really want that. And then I'm like, wait, I might spend 5 minutes a week using it. What a
Right.
waste.
Yes.
So, and then Erica said she didn't think she was a hoarder until she found a 10-year-old can of spinach in her cupboard.
Are they still good at that point? I don't even know. How long does this can of spinach last?
I don't know. If Popeye's watching, let us know.
They've got dates on them, but I hear you can go much past the date on canned goods.
Isn't there a whole store that sells stuff that's expired?
I'm sure.
Isn't there a place? Yeah.
So Elizabeth said that they are doing Financial Peace University right now. They're
You mean
taking
Emily?
a virtual class.
Yeah.
Elizabeth.
Oh.
And one of the worst things with not using cash is you have no emotional attachment
Yep.
to it. You just click a button, spend, spend, spend.
True.
So
Yes, we are big on FPU here. And budgeting. I know that was part of, I didn't really get much of that conversation on Sunday. Budgets are important. I think I may have mentioned it a few weeks before that. But
Well, the weird thing is how everything's changing so quickly. I just saw, I can't remember the business name for the life of me, but they said because of COVID, we're not accepting cash. Like they won't touch it. They don't want your cash. So it's like, good luck, Ramsey people. Actually, that'll help you. You're gonna save even more money because people won't take your cash.
Well, I mean, if you think about it though, I mean, how many people, I carry cash, but I carry cash because I used to travel, and you never know when you need a cash for something or like a toll or, so I always carry cash, but most people don't these days.
I rarely have it.
Yeah.
I used to have it because my kids didn't have debit cards, but now even they have debit cards, so I don't even
Now
need
you
to
can just
have
get
it
on your
for
phone
them.
and give them more, right? You have one in college, this is like boom, boom, boom.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Venmo. Oh, that
Yeah.
makes it easy, doesn't it?
It really does. Go with friends to dinner, just Venmo them some money. Here's our
Yeah.
portion. Yeah. We.
So I think a question is, now that we're in this phase of people struggling a little more given what's happening in the world, like when it does ease up, how can we order our lives in such a way where any surplus that would come in, we might think of it differently instead of just like going back to our old ways of just buying this and buying that.
So I like how you said, how can we order? Because I made the point that the Bible, our history, is full of stories about order, disorder, reorder, right? Or order, disorder, reorder. There's all these, however the pattern is. And history books, I mean, you're reading a history book, you see repeat patterns. What's unique about the Bible is that the Bible was written by a group of people who were always conquered. They, often in culture, we read about the people who conquered. And so we have it through a certain lens. The beauty and the magic and the whatever, the authenticity of the Bible, it was written by people who were constantly suppressed and told, and conquered it over and over and over again. So it's a unique perspective. And so when you read the Bible, you find these stories and you see patterns. And we have, there's great stories in there that we can learn from. We don't, often we read the Bible and we want to take it literal, or we want to, there's all these things that we let the Bible get all mucked up instead of appreciating it for the art and the poetry and the music and the songs and the stories that we can find truth in. Now, people get caught up on the semantics of the stories and they want to make it about this or that. And it's like, no, find truth in the stories. Don't break them apart to the point that it ruins it.
Like you did with the Three Little Pigs fairy tale, Michael.
Did I?
Well, you just had a hard time taking
yes.
the point of the story and being okay with that. Like the roots bothered you of
It
where
did,
it
yes.
came from and all this
Yeah,
stuff.
because I grew up reading this, and I'm just like,
how we have
yeah.
to do with the Bible is overlook some of that cultural stuff that we didn't understand, and moved to
Or
the
maybe
point
we've
of the
heard
story.
things about the Bible, or we're raised in a different culture.
Yeah, like something
Yeah.
that didn't make sense to us, so we trash it. You
Right.
know?
Or we read things, and when we read about their stories thousands of years ago, people are like, it encourages slavery. No, it doesn't. It was talking in the day and age about how to. Anyway, that's a whole other stuff. I won't get off on that tangent. But we can learn from the stories, and when we read the stories, we can see that there are certain ways we can order. And like I said at the beginning, the way we do that is through planning, through budgeting, through and by stretching what we have now and not expanding our spending habits, that you would decrease. And so the book's brilliant, Eric. I'm glad you ordered it, because the most successful CEOs, the most successful companies always take what they have. And it's interesting, some of the most successful companies are cycles of a company. When they have very little, they're the most productive, the most successful. Then they get to a certain point, and they've made it, and they've hired, and then become staff heavy, and all of a sudden then they begin to fail.
Well, there's an
and then
ingenuity required
Yes.
in making something stretch.
Yes.
But I'm wondering, is it making something stretch like washing your baggies? You know how
Go ahead, tell them.
when baggies first came out, like Ziploc baggies first came out, like it was like, oh my goodness, and people would wash them and reuse them.
Oh, you're not making fun of me. Good, because I don't do that.
And I'm like, but the point of baggies is it's a disposable container. Like, if you don't
But
want
if
a
it just had
disposable
like
container,
cookies in it, you could or chips, you could just rinse it out and
I've
reuse it.
shaken something out before and put something else in
Okay.
it. But if you want a container that is not disposable, that's what Tupperware is for,
So-
people. We don't wash baggies. Baggies are meant to be thrown away. That's like paper plates. You don't wash a paper plate.
We're not real green here, just in case you're all
I'm
curious.
just saying, don't buy it if you don't.
Actually, we are green. I
If
use
you're
Tupperware
green-
because I hate baggies, because you can
There
wash
you go.
Tupperware.
If you're green, get the glass containers or the plastic containers, which they say now are bad for you too.
Well, you can get
But
BPA free.
You can reuse them. But baggies are now they have baggies that are not meant to be disposable though, so that mucks
they
up
do?
the whole conversation. Yeah, they have thicker plastic, not the thin plastic, but a heavier
Well, it's like
duty or vinyl, or I don't know what it's made of.
Or canvas. Like when you go to the
Silicone?
store, the church has them. The little bags you go shopping, instead of using their plastic bags,
Oh,
you
yeah.
take them with you.
Yeah, no, but I mean actual Ziplocs
Yeah.
are like silicone or something. You're supposed to actually wash them. Now okay, I get that, but the little thin baggies you're supposed to throw those away. That's what it's for. Don't buy them if you don't agree.
So the book actually addresses this as well. And so the book also talks about there are extreme cases. So you can be what's the term? You can be cheap or you can be frugal. Frugal is good, but when you become cheap, when you start, and so he actually lays out 12 steps you can do, like a 12-step program, and then things you shouldn't do because you can take it too far. So there's stretching resources, and then there's going too far. He gives examples of both. And so, yes, I tend to be a little on the cheaper side. I try to be frugal, but I will rewash a baggie. I don't even care.
you will rewash.
Now, if it has meat in it or something, I won't. But if it has I'll reuse it. I'll bring chips into lunch, and then I'll dump the crumbs out, put more chips in there. Am I being judged right now, Amy?
No, I probably am. It's okay.
I mean,
Anybody have anything to say about baggies?
Danielle said they have produce ones. But otherwise, the conversation right now online, they're talking about financial peace, and they're talking about having a community of people to keep, once, right now, times are tight for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But as things change over time, they said it will be easier to revert back to old habits, and so having people that help you stay on this path of generosity is important.
Right.
And so Elizabeth said, hence our community, because she said she could do Financial Peace University without the church community, and then she probably wouldn't stay on track. But having this group of people that she talks about it with every week keeps her on track doing it. And so
Well, I see Danielle's on. Danielle went through FPU last year.
and she said that they're actually revisiting the book right now because they fell out of a lot of the habits that they learned. And so now they're revisiting it, and she said it was really helpful to have a group last year to walk through.
Y'all, this is just like our faith. The tangible stuff we do with our money and our time is a direct correlation of our faith too. because it's about the practice and the disciplines, right? You don't do the practice and the disciplines, you get away from. So the idea that this idea of sin is that we just do little things to get us off the track or off path, right? Harmatia means to miss the mark. It's the little things. And so having a roadmap, that's why having a budget, these are all important things. And then, of course, we get to the idea of repentance. Repentance is not some weird churchy word, it's just the idea that we go back and we're trying to go back to where we were. So Danielle, you're literally repenting right now if you're going back to the
book.
To the book. And those are weird things. Like I grew up in a church where repentance was like, you're a bad person and you're going to hell, so you need to say the special prayer and you're better.
It sounds like a shameful word, but it's really
right.
not.
It's not.
It's a good thing.
It's an active thing we do.
I think that's an important point they make, and I'm glad they're talking about important things while we're talking about baggies, to be honest. But what they're saying is the whole idea of keeping up with the Joneses, because if your circle of friends are acting in a materialistic way, they always want to go out to expensive restaurants, they've always getting the best cars and shoes, you feel left out or out of place when you don't do the same things or can't
FOMO.
do the same things. Yeah, and so if you have a circle who's tight and they're all like, hey, let's grill hot dogs, I mean, that's a heck of a lot cheaper than going to wherever.
I thought you said grow.
Grilling, grilling hot dogs.
So you can grow hot
or
dogs?
whatever, you're still going to have a great time with
Right.
your circle of friends. And so if you can get, not saying you, because we go back and forth with only surrounding ourselves with like-minded people, that's bad too. But in this sense, I think it's a help to surround yourself with like-minded.
There's this term, accountability, which again, people are,
I'm going to have to tell you what?
Yeah. It's more of, so table talk, right? And I mentioned this in the beginning. When you have conversations sitting across the table from somebody, this is the idea of communion in the church world. Like, it just, let them be about sacrifice. Let them be, challenge each other. I think keeping each other accountable, not in a mean way, not in a judgmental way, but just in casual conversation. That's how that works, I think. I don't think you need to come across and say, Allison, you need to wash your baggies. But, you should. But you can have conversations about, hey, how's the budget coming this year? And then people are like, oh, it's all blown to hell. It's COVID year. And so, it's all the things.
Well, seeking to understand and being understood, I think, makes all the difference in the decisions that you make too. Like,
Right.
if you feel isolated on an island, you're going to make different decisions than if you're with people in community.
Right.
Where you're going to be asked about.
Well, and also, so I believe, I mentioned, I'm not sure if the Philp family's watching today or Angela Lee, but we, when you come together, you're supposed to talk about, hey, I have a friend who, right? I had a phone call a few weeks ago, and the church stepped in to help. She said, hey, I have somebody that works with me, and she's in a domestic abuse situation, and can you help? Of course we can help. Help furnish the apartment, all this stuff, get her out, and then I got to go have dinner with her a couple weeks ago. So, at dinner, at tables, we have these conversations. Hey, a friend of mine is having a hard time. Let's pool our resources and help. Now, the church is just a big table that we're supposed to pool our resources and do this. But I also believe that can happen on an individual basis. And so, that's why I always encourage everybody, have your own conversations. You're going to sit down at a table this week, whether it's a conference table or a dinner table or an office table, whatever it is, let your conversations be about helping others, about sacrifice.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be weird.
No.
I remember back in the day, when churches would have evangelizing, times where you would go door to door in a neighborhood. Our church literally did that. And
I did that when we started.
Yeah, well, but you probably weren't saying, if you died tonight, do you know for certain where you are going to spend eternity?
No, I'd hit him in the head with the Bible.
You probably didn't say that, but I'm saying now, our version of having meaningful conversations, it doesn't have to be weird. Do you know the Lord Jesus Christ as your personal
Yeah, Jesus
Savior?
was just talking about real conversation.
You don't have to say that. You just have to have talks. I'm hitting the barrier. You just have to engage in conversation that is not just frivolous and about nothing, but you get to the deep root of issues that you struggle with.
Yeah, don't have. So I think it's Eleanor Roosevelt said, and I'm going to butcher this, so I apologize if you know this quote, but in essence, superficial people talk about other people.
Yes.
Right? Smart people talk about plans, and then brilliant people talk about ideas.
Yes.
Or concepts. And so it's something that it's one of my favorite quotes. I'm not going to details, but it's one of my favorite quotes because the idea is that when we sit around and talk about people, because what do? Do we not do that? We get together.
No.
Did you hear that, right? Did you hear that Amy Bartlett got a new pair of boots and they look awful? And so, I'm just kidding. That's is she wearing boots? No, she's wearing tennis shoes. Okay.
never
so.
has bad looking shoes on.
But don't we do that? Did you
We
hear
do.
about so-and-so?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a cheap way to connect with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it's easy and cheap and you guys don't have to go deep below the surface to trash somebody.
And that's how we damage people.
Yeah.
So the whole point that Jesus said, like, do this and do it often, is that when you sit down, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
What about this? Mm-hmm. Let's talk about an idea where we can help somebody. Let's talk about an idea where we can, whatever it is. Church is a vehicle. There's so many other vehicles. Community Services League, right? How can we go help hand out food? How can we pool our resources to help those around us? And I think that's how you change the world.
Yeah.
I'm going to preach about this in a few weeks, the week before the election. And I know I always go to that, but like we're talking about we change the world not by who we elect. You can change the world by who you elect. We change the world through our actions
Who
and
we
what we
are.
do. Yeah.
Well, there's a synergy when you sit down and meet with people. There's a synergy there that isn't present when you're trying to come up and plan with things, plan things by yourself.
Right.
And so I try to remember, and I'm not good at it all the time, but that synergy can like explode bad things or can explode good things. And it's like when two people get together and start trashing somebody, all of a sudden the problem gets magnified, and so it's like, how do we intentionally move away from those conversations and make it about
Martin Luther King
something
Jr.
that's
said, hate begets more hate, but
Yes.
then light, you
Exactly.
can't fight hate with hate. You can't fight evil with evil. Only light can do that. Only goodness can do that. And so, but because it spirals and it's out of
Sure
control,
it
and then
does.
it just, whatever we do, whatever we invest in, like this is what this generosity term is about. Whatever we do, how we spend our time, money, it not only is it who we become, but it also amplifies it to all those around us.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever we're putting out there is amplified. So how we spend our time, money, and everything becomes very important. Are we buying? I hope nobody has. I shouldn't say that. Are we
You
buying
shouldn't say that,
Yeah, I'm not
whatever
gonna
it
get
is.
whatever. It is. Are we buying luxury cars? So
Well, it's a ripple effect.
It is.
You don't see the effect.
Yeah.
Once it gets out to a certain point, and that could be
Yeah.
good or bad. You could be a ripple effect.
And
in
it doesn't
a
make you a bad person if you struggle with these things.
Right.
The important part is we're never going to eradicate selfishness. We're never going to eradicate keeping up with the Joneses. The point is, are we as individuals making a difference, trying to have conversations and challenging one another? And I had some friends over Friday night. Friends, Megan and Derek and Brooke and Jared. Friends, we go back to high school we've been friends like 30 years, and we had not seen each other, all been in the same room for like over a year. And Megan sends me this text after. She goes, "Oh my gosh, I love how we can talk about real stuff of life and real issues and challenge each other and still walk away as friends. This is so refreshing." And it was like this big energy thing, like we had such good energy. And so I'm like, how do we? And I've missed that, like with them, that specific group. So how do we bond, build those relationships, do those things? And we do. My point is, we always do it at a table. And usually it's around food or beer, wine, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whiskey, whatever, papers at
Whatever
the
it
office.
is, yeah.
But even at the office, like conference rooms, I used to work when I was on the corporate side, we'd have all these meetings, and we'd have a staff meeting like every Monday. And part of our agenda was, what are we doing in the community? How are we taking care of our employees? How are all the things? How are we developing them? And so even at work, every table you're at, you can make a difference. And I think that's where that's the dynamic. That's the shift in: are we participating in something that's good? Are we seeing the good, being the good, or are we participating in this other thing, right?
Yeah.
And so we try to define these in that terms form, and evil and sin, all this stuff. But at the end of the day, it's as simple as that.
House of bricks or house of sticks? Three little pigs.
Allison, I need you all to encourage Allison to preach.
No, heck no. Heck no.
She can totally preach. That's
Amy, what are the people saying?
They're silent. They want to hear from you.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
How are we doing? Oh goodness.
What time is it?
30 minutes flies by like that. It's like 12:29 already.
Oh,
So,
okay.
So takeaways from today.
What matters? Are you actually purposefully gearing your life toward investing in what matters? What lasts? What makes a difference?
And if the answer is no, like I'm all about the plan, and this book called Stretch Me, like plans are good, but when we make it about the plan instead of being flexible, it can get us off base, right? It can cause us to miss the mark, right? To go so. But a plan's still important. Like it still emphasizes the importance of a plan. So what's your plan? Like, are you gonna redo your budget? Are you gonna take what you have? Can you drive that car another year or two? Can you, I know there's holes in your socks, but you can get another 3 months out of them.
I know you have no tread left in your shoes, but
I've paired it. Yeah. So, yeah, I've paired tennis shoes that are literally holy.
Wow.
Yeah.
And with that. We
We're
sign
done?
off. No.
All right.
That's funny. Is it 12:30?
It is 12:30.
Okay.
All right. Thank you guys for joining
Have
us.
a good day, everybody.
Peace. Thanks for joining us. I already said that. I'm trying to sign out with something. I don't know. I got nothing. Are we still going?
And scene.
Thanks for joining Table Talk.